Hi everyone, my name is Phil and welcome to Phil Does 3D. I'm a multimedia and 3D artist and I stream on Twitch weekdays from 5 PM Pacific time in the United States, 10 AM in Australia and 1 AM in the UK. We're working on an Art Deco building that I'm creating in Unreal Engine 4.15.3. Epic Games did update the engine to 4.16 I think over the weekend. I haven't actually installed the new version yet. I will do that not today or tomorrow, but later in the week. So from next week's streams we'll probably be using 4.16. I'm just waiting on Epic to update the Substance plugin for the new version of the engine because I use the Substance plugin for the terrain. So that's what we are working on, an Art Deco building. I'm going to be creating a cinematic in Unreal Engine of a fly-through of the environment. We'll get to the building, which is this Art Deco building here, and we'll fly inside the building and then back out again. So we're going to be doing an interior for the building as well. The last few weeks we've been working on the environment in the Unreal Engine. I'm just keeping an eye on OBS over here, guys. We've been working on the environment for in the Unreal Engine that the building is going to be sitting in. We haven't actually taken the building in yet. Let's just jump into Unreal here and have a look. So this is our environment that we're actually working on in Unreal. Now, I have turned off real-time preview here. All of these plants are actually animated, wind animated. I've turned it off just simply because OBS has a few problems at the moment with some game engines and DirectX 11. So at some stage I may turn it back on. I'll just keep an eye on OBS and see how it goes. It just seems to be not sticking at its frames per second if I turn wind animation on. But we can jump through our bookmarks here to have a bit of a look at our environment. So this is the back of the building, behind the building. We've just created a tree-lined background here. We'll jump through the bookmarks a bit more. This is a small pond area we've got going on. Just that'll be in front of the building. That's the main gate at the very front of the building itself. I'm just making sure my fog is turned on. I think it is. I think we've just got a different angle on that. Yeah. Oh, no, that's back inside. Alright. So we have our first terrace here, and then after that we've got our second terrace. Yeah. Going to pull to the front of that so we can get a better look. Again, like I said, all of this is wind animated, but I won't turn it on just until I'm sure what's going on with OBS and its frames per second. So what we have to do is we have to bring a building in. I don't actually want to start doing the inside of this clearing until we get the building position, because it'll be better for me then to know how exactly where the building is sitting and what I'm going to put around it. So what we'll do, I think, is I do want to actually just make sure we have some leaves scattered up along our new terrace. This is the one we brought in last week on the last stream. So we have our leaves scattered down here along the path. Just down there, but we need to put some on the steps, and I want a couple scattered just on the top of the terrace, I think. So let's just do that quickly. Let's grab a pile of leaves here and duplicate it. Remember guys, if you've got any questions or anything you're not sure about, please feel free to pop into chat and ask me. If you just want to pop in and say hello, that's always welcome. If you just want to watch, that's completely fine. Alright, let's start, I think, by putting a couple of groups of leaves just at the base of the steps here. And let's put a couple actually up on the stairs now, I think. Making sure that they're on the ground there. Yep, they look good. Now again, like I was saying last week with these leaves, if we look at the leaf grouping, it's actually a circle, but we can still use that same mesh without creating a new one for the stairs. We'll just push the leaves into the step itself so that you won't notice that it's actually not created specifically for the stairs. So let's just rotate it around a bit. Again, so we have this flatter edge here toward the front of the step. We may actually just pop a few in front of the stairs as well, I think. And remember, every time we duplicate these leaves, we're using very little extra memory for the graphics card or the game engine, because it's just referencing the original leaf and just creating an instance of it, basically. Let's just rotate that around so it looks a little different from the one beside it. I'm just going to turn off my exponential height fog here because it just seems to be getting in the way a little bit. Just while we're working in the viewport. Alright. Now let's start working on our leaves for the steps themselves. And again, this is what I mean. We're just going to push the leaves inside the mesh itself to hide the fact that the leaves weren't actually created for the stairs. So that'll just save us having to create a new mesh and load it, and using a little bit of extra memory to have a new mesh in the game, in the cinematic in this case. Let's move one down into this corner here. And let's see, let's do one up in this corner up here. I don't want to go too nuts with the leaves on the steps. You could, but I think it'll look better if you don't. Oh, too far back. I think that'll be okay. We could put one here, but I think that's enough leaves for the stairs. I may actually just, I may grab one more bunch and just put it next to this one just to make it look a little different from all the rest of them, because they all are starting to look a bit samey. I'll just overlay one on top of the other to make it look a little different. Go. Let's get a few up here on the top of the terrace now. I know I did actually include these leaves in my foliage tool, so we could paint some leaves in on the top here, which we may do as well. So just before we do that, hey, the Sweet Henrik, I think it is. Thanks for popping in and saying hello. How are you? And I hope I got your username right, but guys that are regulars to my channel know that I'm terrible with you guys' usernames, so forgive me if I did get it wrong. If you've got any questions you'd like to ask, please feel free. I am making an Art Deco building fly-through in the Unreal Engine. So we've been working on our environment, and again, these trees are all wind animated. I just have it switched off at the moment because OBS, for some reason at the moment with DirectX 11 is dropping a few frames. Let's just turn it on real quick and we'll see how we go. You see all of our trees are actually wind animated. So we're creating an Art Deco, we're creating a cinematic in Unreal using an Art Deco building, which we are going to be bringing in, which is this one here. So we're going to do a cinematic where we fly through the environment, then we fly inside the building, and then back out again. So we're going to be doing the interior of the building as well. So that's what we are working on, and we've been working on the environment at the moment. So again, if I just jump through the bookmarks, let's turn our exponential height fog back on to make it look a bit prettier. So yeah, we've been working on our bookmarks here. That's a small pond that's going to go in front of the building. That's the main gate before we actually, the cinematic will start around here before we actually fly into the building itself. Just a different angle on that cinematic. This is the path the camera will go up before it gets to the actual building. Go a bit closer up that path. And a bit closer up that path again. Now this is the second terrace before we actually get down into where the building will be, which will be in the middle here. And that's what we're working on at the moment. Alright, let's see what's going on here. Okay, now it looks like I'm just going to turn off my exponential height fog again so that it doesn't get in the way with what we're doing. And it looks like I have one of my bushes here intersecting my actual terrace. So what I'm going to have to do is go into my foliage editor and remove it. I'm a little bit of the year at 3D. Well, you know, I'm on Twitch to encourage you guys to do 3D, and you're not going to get better unless you practice. So I'm sure you're quite okay at 3D. Everybody's skill level is different, and the more you do it, the better you get. So you'll get better the more you do it, and I'm sure your 3D is fine. And I'm just glad you're doing 3D because, like I said, that's why I'm on Twitch. I want you guys to be doing 3D. Again, what do you use? The sweet Henry. And what 3D program are you using? Using Blender? A lot of guys that watch my channel use Blender. I actually use 3D Studio Max, but all the 3D programs are very good now, so I'm just going to move that tree out from in there. You only do it as a hobby? You think you're going to 3D school? Cool. Yep, you use Blender because it's free? No, that's completely understandable, and Blender is a very, very good 3D program. All of the 3D software now is all pretty much the same, so, and Blender has come a long way. There's nothing wrong with using Blender, and if any skills you use and you learn in Blender, you can then take to other 3D software anyway, so don't feel that learning Blender is a waste of time because studios use Maya or Max, because some studios do use Blender, and even if they don't, like I said, any of the skills you pick up in Blender, you can use in other 3D programs pretty easily anyway. So that's cool. And yeah, going to 3D school to learn 3D is always a good thing to do. Don't feel that you have to though. If you think it'll improve your skills, then yeah, by all means do. But the most important thing is just using the software and getting comfortable with it, because the more you use it, the better you'll get. A bit of history about me. I work in architectural visualization now to ArchViz. Prior to that though, I worked in games development and cinema, so there's certainly all sorts of different work you can do as a 3D artist. I may leave these ones here. They look like they're just falling over the top of the terrace, so it may be okay. I'm going to go through and make sure none of our others are actually sticking through. It's mostly for contacts. Yep, and I can get it through teachers plus internship. Yep, no, that's a very good plan actually, and a good point as well. Yeah, no, that's true. You will make a lot of contacts by going to school, a 3D school, and yeah, they offer internships to students, so it's certainly a smart way to break into the industry. Pardon me, guys, I'm losing my voice a bit. No, that's cool. And I do suggest you do it because it is a lot of fun. Something that I've been doing 3D now for more than 10 years. And I can't imagine doing anything else. It's something I really love doing. Do I still have my thing turned? Oh, yeah, I do. I've got to turn real time off. Alright. No, I certainly encourage you to do it. It's a lot of fun. And like I said, you can get into all sorts of different work. You know, if you want to do games development, that's an option. You want to work in film, that's an option. You want to work in advertising, that's an option. You've got the basics down, but at least you think you do. I'm sure you do. Once you know the basics, then everything else will start to fall into place pretty quickly. Yeah, texturing, a lot of people don't appreciate just how difficult texturing can be. A lot of people think 3D modeling is all about the 3D modeling, and that's a big part of it. But texturing can be difficult in its own right. And of course, you do have people that specialize just in doing texturing, texture artists as opposed to 3D artists. So yeah, it can be a big job on its own. Again, texturing basically, it's changing a bit now with Substance Painter. You can do your texturing a bit easier than you used to be able to. I generally use Mari to do my texturing, my texture painting. And that's M-A-R-I, which is made by the Foundry, this program here. They do have a free version you can download and use just for testing. You can't create anything commercial with it, but you can certainly download and use it for free. It's fully functional. So long as you don't do any commercial work with it, then you're fine. And it's used in film a lot, so if you want to do cinema work, Mari is a program that's used quite a bit to do texture work. But again, Substance Painter is something a lot of guys that work in games use. It makes it a bit easier to do your texturing. You don't have to worry so much about your UV layout, UV maps and that type of thing. So yeah, I would suggest if you want to, at the moment you use Blender for everything, you know, that's fine. I use Max too on its own without third-party programs to do my texturing for some things as well. You may find it easier to do your texturing though in a third-party program like Substance Painter or Mari, simply because you've got a bit more control over your model. You can actually paint your textures on your model as opposed to trying to do it in Photoshop, which is, I still do my texturing in Photoshop too. It's just an alternative way to work. As opposed, you know, instead of jumping into Max and laying out your UVs, let's jump into one of mine here. Let's just look at the texture for one of these sides of the building. So it's a typical UV layout, just, you know, each side of the building is textured up, painted up. You can take that into Photoshop, paint your textures that way. But with a third-party program like Mari or Substance, you can take the actual 3D model into the paint program and use a brush like you do in Photoshop to paint on the 3D geometry, and it makes it easier. And like I said, if you want to use Mari here, M-A-R-I, you can download a free version from the Foundry's website to try it out. But getting down, understanding Blender's built-in tools is a good way to go. I'll just deselect that. Okay, let's spread some of our leaves about, I think. Now again, I'm just using the same little group of leaves here inside the Unreal Engine, simply because it'll save on memory on the computer, and if you're making a game, it'll make your game faster because there's less stuff you've got to load into memory if you just keep using the same objects as much as you can. And these leaves we can use quite a bit because people are not going to notice that we're just copying the same bunch of leaves over and over again. I'm just going to spread a couple of these leaves about the top of this terrace. And then I may go into the paint tool here and paint some of the leaf groups in as well. We'll see how we go. We'll see what it looks like. Okay, let's bring another group over here. Let's just rotate it around a little bit so it looks a little different. And again, I've got to make sure my leaves are actually on the terrace and they're not, so I'm just got to pull them down a bit. That should be good. But yeah, no, don't get me wrong. Don't think you need to use another third-party program to do your texturing. Blender is fine to do your texturing in. And any paint program, whether it's Photoshop or Paint or whatever, you can certainly texture in. I just wanted to point out that, you know, there are programs you can download and use for free, as long as you're not selling your work or doing anything commercial for another company. Alright, let's grab one more bunch and pop it over to the other side, I think. And again, we're going to be pulling these leaves over to the corners of the terrace because leaves will gather in against the surface when the wind blows it. So even though you may get some scattered leaves through the middle, most of them are going to be blown to the edges. So I may grab one more bunch and pop it down in this corner here. Alright. Now I'm just deciding whether it needs any more leaves or not. We have our leaves spread along the path, and we have our leaves spread up the steps here. We could paint leaves in again. Let's paint some leaves in and see if it looks good or not. And if it doesn't look good, we can undo it. So let's jump into the foliage tool here and select my leaf pile. Make sure everything else is turned off that I don't want. And I'm just going to paint some in to see if it needs it or not. Okay, now I'm just going to undo that. What it's doing here is it's painting the leaves underneath the terrace on the actual ground. For me to be able to paint on the terrace, I need to turn on where is that setting? Static meshes. And now I can paint on top of the terrace itself. So just a tip for anyone using Unreal Foliage Editor, if you can't paint on the thing you want to, if it's not the actual ground, make sure you turn on static meshes. Let's just paint some of these in and have a look. Now, that's way too many leaves. I'm going to undo that. And I'm going to pull back on my density here quite a bit. I'm going to take my brush size down as well, it's a bit big. Still a bit big. That's better. Okay, now I'm just going to paint a few leaves here and there. These are exactly the same little leaf pile, just in the foliage painting tool as opposed to me doing it by hand.
Got the light and it's shining through. They say you're beautiful and damn it's true. You know I wouldn't wanna lie
Let's
to
throw a
you.
couple over here.
Trust me when I say,
And that should probably do it. I don't want to go overboard here with the leaves on top. We do want to pop a couple of leaves on the steps though, so let's do that.
found love and
Let's jump out of that foliage tool and grab one of our leaf piles. And move it to the front. Pop it down. Again, we're going to rotate it till that straight edge there is facing the front of the step. And just hide the rest of them behind, underneath the stairs there. Okay, I may just throw two more leaf piles and a couple at the front, I think. So we'll do one over here. Maybe one down here on the third step.
wanna run into the dark with you. Light it up and let it start anew. We'll find the spark inside my dark.
And the rest we'll just put in little piles at the front, I think. I think that would probably be the best way to go.
Got the light and it's
Right.
shining through. Say you're beautiful and damn it's true. You know I wouldn't wanna lie to you. So trust me when I say, I found love and I live for you. I found love and it's all for you. I found love and I live for you.
I'm just going to duplicate both those piles and move them to the opposite side. Again, just to keep a bit of balance in the image.
It's all for you.
We may pull it out just a little bit more by doing one more duplication. And we'll move them over here and rotate them around a little bit. Alright, that should be good. And it's a bit annoying. I'd like to turn the animation on because I do like to see the wind moving through the trees, but yeah, we can't at the moment. We'll look at that later. So we have our little pond here, and the pond is actually animated as well. There are small ripples that flow across the top of the pond. But I think what we have to do now is we have to make some room for our building in the middle here. So I've done everything in the outside. We have to concentrate now on creating the inside of our actual plane here. We'll call it a yard for the building. Before I do that, what I want to do is I think I want to place a couple of trees either side of our path here before we actually get to the building. So I'm going to jump into my tree folder and let's look for a couple of nice trees. Now we can either go with that that autumn red coloured leaf, or we can go with one of the green leaves. I think maybe the red leaves would look nice. Well, if we don't like it, we can always change it. So let's pull in one of these trees, one of these autumn trees. I'm going to scale it up a bit. Just going to pull up to judge it. I'm judging the height of that on the other trees here. I think it needs to be a little bit bigger. Maybe just a little bit bigger still. There we go. Let's find an angle on this tree that looks interesting now. So let's move it into position before we do that. So I want a tree the side of the steps here, I think. So I'm going to push that back into our bushes there. We'll jump this way and have a look. I'm just going to start rotating it now until I get a silhouette here that I like the look of. And I think maybe something like that, where we have part of the tree overhanging the step and part of the tree overhanging the top of the terrace. Alright, well one tree, let's undo that. One tree is looking a little bit lonely on its own. So let's put another tree in. And for something different, let's throw in a green tree instead of one of these autumn trees. So let's see here. Let's look at this one. Again, let's move it over into the garden near the bottom of the step. And we'll do the same thing again. I'm going to scale it up just a little bit. Just until it's about the same height as the other tree. And we're going to rotate it till we get a shape that we like the look of. And again, I think maybe something like that. That just creates this nice little overhang here for the steps, so that when people are walking up here, they could walk under the tree and down the stairs. Just creates a nice looking group. But I think what I may do is I may scale that tree up just a little bit more. I just want a bit more room through there. Hey Sniper Echo, good to see you. How's things? We're just working on our environment here for the Unreal Engine. I am keeping well, buddy. How are you? What have you been up to? Work has been pretty busy for me. I couldn't... You're good? Cool. Yeah, I've got a bit of work on at the moment for the studio, so last week I couldn't stream on Wednesday. And I can't stream Wednesday this week either. I should be back to normal next week. It's just last week and this week I've got a lot of stuff that I've got to get done. You know what deadlines are like. Because normally, as you guys know, I stream on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, but yeah, I missed Wednesday last week and I'm going to have to miss Wednesday this week as well. You've been slammed with work lately? Yeah, I know the feeling. Yeah, I know exactly what you mean, dude. It just seems to be that time of year, particularly if you work in 3D, that there's a lot of work on. Mid-year is always quite busy. It tends to quieten down towards the end of the year around Christmas, but yeah, mid-year is always full on. So I do sympathise and know what you mean. Alright. And again, I'm really annoyed I can't turn my animated wind on here because of OBS, and it seems to be having problems with some game engines at the moment. it's a Windows Creators Update problem that was introduced. So OBS is still having a few problems with game engines, because I noticed when I turn my real-time wind animation on here, my frames per second drop in OBS. See, I've already dropped down to 22 instead of 30, so it's really annoying. But I'd rather have a smooth stream for you guys than have it being choppy, so I'll turn that back off again. Hopefully they'll fix that up at some stage. Let's turn our exponential height fog back on again though, quickly, because I like to see the fog in the scene. Let's just zoom back through here. Now actually I'm still using Unreal Engine 4.15.3, and I know Epic, like I said, updated to 4.16 over the weekend or the end of last week. I will update to that at the end of this week or over the weekend. I haven't done it yet because they haven't updated the Substance plugin, and I use that for the terrain. But I'm interested to see that they've introduced a new fog called, I think it's called like a volumetric fog, which actually moves. So at the moment you see we've got our, hopefully you can see it on stream, we've got our God rays here. The new fog actually has dust particles that will move throughout the fog. Now we could fake that ourselves using the particle system, but it's always easier if Epic build it into the engine, so less work for us to have to do. And you can actually vary the fog density depending on the part of the scene you want the fog in. So I'm looking forward to playing with that when I update the engine. It should be good. They've introduced a lot of new stuff in the new 4.16 Unreal. Even though I'm still coming to terms with the engine itself, because like you guys know, it's been 6 years since I used UDK, and I played with UE4 a couple of years ago, but never did any serious work in it because I'm in ArchViz now. I'm not in games much anymore. Even though I do create game models for a studio here, I create the models, I don't play with the engine. So I'll check that out later in the week though. Alright, now we've got most of our environment done here now. Again, let's just jump through our bookmarks. So we have our hills done. We have our pond done. Again, I kept this area of the hills open without any trees so it wouldn't hide our sunset there. Or sunrise, whichever way you want to go. We have our main gate here, which is where the camera will start before we start the cinematic, or when we start the cinematic, just a different angle. I'll probably start the cinematic at an angle like this, it looks more interesting, before we fly through our gate. And then we have our actual pathway leading into the building. It's the same bookmark. Again, we've got this small terrace just to add a bit of interest in our pathway. Adding a bit of height and different levels just helps add more visual interest to the path itself. We're at number 5. Just a bit closer on our path, and again we're using Substance Painter here to do the texturing for this terrace. Well, I textured it up in Substance Painter. Thanks, Sniper Echo. I'm glad you like it. I think when we get the camera moving through here, it should look quite good, because we can play with the field of view and all that type of thing in the camera when we create our cinematic.